Good morning to those of you in the east coast of Florida and elsewhere throughout the United States. Good evening to those of you in Asia. Hello to our friends in Jakarta and Shanghai. My name is Bob LeVine. I am the CEO and founder of University Consultants of America. Today we are going to be talking about things that are relevant to those of you who are in 11th grade or 10th grade, perhaps even 9th grade. As these preliminary matter, in the Zoom box at the bottom, you will see both a chat window and a Q&A. When I finish my comments, I'll be glad to answer questions. So please, as we go through, feel free to go ahead and put some questions in, and I'll give you some answers in either the chat or the Q&A. But let's get started. The American system of accepting students into college is very different than it is throughout other parts of the world. There are actually two methods. In simple terms, there are two methods. One would be a very objective method. This is the one that most people understand. It is based upon grades. It is often based upon test scores. And they may have a resume they ask you to fill out and maybe an essay. But this is primarily based upon your qualifications. If you have better grades, better test scores, you win. It doesn't exactly work like that. For example, if you're more of a performing artist, they're not going to worry about SAT as much as if you're an engineer. But for mostly our public universities, it is an objective, numbers-based qualifications type of evaluation. For our private schools, it's different. It's different because our private schools have a different mentality about what the education should be and how to make the best possible education. The public schools are designed to educate as many people as possible. They do a good job, but it's really about more, not better. The private schools have only one concern. How do we do this the best possible way? So they want to use all of the assets and all of the resources. The biggest asset, qualitatively and quantitatively, would be you, the students. This is why they keep people on campus. This is why they look for diversity. People with different philosophies, different experiences, different everything, share outside the classroom. So when our private schools, the residential ones, evaluate you, they're looking for your contribution much more than they're looking for your qualifications, because basically everybody's qualified, or most people are qualified, even at the top schools. So the analysis of how to do the education is different, and therefore the analysis of how to accept students is different. The word is used all the time, holistic. Holistic means entire person, whole person. And quite literally what they will do is split you into several attributes, give you a grade for each attribute, and from there come up with an overall grade. And I want to show it to you. Let me find this. On your screen, you are now seeing the Harvard Personal Interview Report. This is the same grading sheet used inside Harvard, and it is basically the same for most of our private schools. This is a visualization of the holistic method. What they are doing is evaluating you in pieces. You are staring right now at the academic part, and as I scroll down, you will see the non-academic, non-intellectual, extracurricular, co-curricular, hobbies, anything you do. Then they give you a number for academic, number for extracurricular, and a number for who you are as a human being. This is where your contribution shows up. See, you're not contributing in a classroom in college. Frankly, in a classroom, you're a taker, not a giver. You contribute outside the classroom. It's in what you do and how you do it. Now, you might find it strange, but what tends to happen is that the most important attribute in this holistic system is who you are as a human being, the personal side. and is very subjective. As you see in the highest ratings, the guideline uses 4 words at the end of each of the top ones. They're exactly the same. So in determining who is and isn't number 1 or number 2 or number 3, those 4 words don't help. Rare, strong, above average. Those don't really help either. You see, they're adjectives. It's a very subjective system. And there's really kind of a 2-step process when our private schools evaluate. The first is, are you qualified? Just stay in the game. Can we teach you? Do you have the raw material? And after that, do we want to? Do we like you? Do we see you as a kind of person who's good for us? Are you a contributor? Are you a catalyst? Or are you cancer? Now, I go through all this because most don't understand it. And by that, I mean most around the world and even in the US. It's a very different system. And that's why the results can be so unusual, because with subjective systems come subjective results. It's not random, but it is subjective. So what I want you to understand today is where you are and where you're going. Ultimately, the grading sheet is where you're going, but there are a few paths on the way, and we're going to go over those. First, I want to give you some context. In grade 9 and grade 10 and grade 11, grade 12, there are different things to do. And I want you to know where you are so you feel some comfort that you're not lost. Okay. In 9th grade, your job is just to get used to high school. So get good grades and start to join the high school extracurriculars. Be a participant in what your school does. If you're past 9th grade, you probably did that. So let's talk about what you should do in 10th grade. Same thing. Get good grades. Do your extracurriculars, but go deeper. And we'll talk about that. In grade 11, get good grades, do your extracurriculars, testing like SAT, and the hidden one, be nice to your teachers. Talk with them. You're probably going to need recommendation letters. The better they know you, the better your results. Now, grade 12 is basically it's time to apply. So those of you who are in grade 11, here's the thing. For the most part, just survive grade 11, because you'll be applying early in grade 12, as early as August, perhaps October, but you're not going to have many grades from grade 12 to show them. You'll have the classes, but not the grades yet. So basically, if you can do well in grade 11, avoid these 3 things. Number 1, try not to fail a class in grade 12, would you? Number 2, don't drop out of high school. You have to actually graduate before you can matriculate into a college. And number 3, and yes, it actually happens, don't commit a crime. If you can avoid total catastrophe, breathe a little bit in grade 12, because yes, you need to do your high school stuff. You need to get good grades, but you also need to do a good job on your applications. So breathe a little bit in grade 12 and keep your balance. Well, that's the schedule for you moving forward, but there's another schedule, and it's the schedule of the high school. You see, the high school is kind of a partnership with you in the sense that they have to send transcripts, and they have to send the recommendation letters, and they have the ability to help you. They have relationships. They can say great things about you or less so. And although they deny it, they can't help everybody with every school. Credibility issue on that one. So essentially what happens, whether intentionally or not, is they kind of sort through you and decide, we like this person for this school. We like this person for that school. My point is this. You definitely want to get to know your high school. They can help you. In fact, the recommendation letters and the report from the high school are essentially the last things that the admissions people read before they evaluate you. So when is this really going to happen? Well, they're not really paying much attention to you unless you're in grade 12 right now. They're dealing with grade 12. And they're having a tough time. COVID is changing everything. And it's hard. It's a lot of work, and trying to get all the teenagers to do what they're supposed to do is not that easy. So they really won't look at anybody in grade 11 until January, because the most crushing cycle of admissions kind of finishes around January. So they're going to start over with the next class. And if you're in grade 11, that means you. So starting in January, you'll probably have a meeting with your counselor, and your parents probably be there, and they really don't know you. So it's going to be an introductory meeting more than anything. Throughout the semester, you may get a few emails or notices at the end of grade 11. They'll talk to you about getting your recommendation letters, what to do over the summer. They might have a few things going on over the summer, maybe a seminar, but for the most part, it's pretty quiet. Crickets. Then when grade 12 starts, here we are. This is how you do it. Please use this system. Got to get it by this date. If you don't do it by this date, we're not going to send the transcript. Yeah, they will. And they may actually message things in a firm way. I've even seen rude. But please don't misunderstand. They want what you want, because if you succeed, they look good. And we all want your success. But they message it in ways that they think is most effective. Please try not to get upset when you start to hear this starting grade 12. Don't storm the Bastille. Don't get your pitchforks and your torches and try to burn the place down. That's not going to help you. But anyway, starting in January, your college counselors at your school are going to start paying attention to you. Doesn't mean you can't reach out to them now and get a head start. It's called email. You don't have to bother them, but get on their radar. Okay. Now let's talk about each of the pieces of this analysis, because they're going to understand the human side of you. They want to understand the extracurricular side of you. They want to understand the academic side. Truth is that the human side won't really be evident until those subjective pieces of the essays, the applications are done. That would be essays. It would be recommendation letters, even interview reports. So don't worry so much about how you present as a person, because that's part of the presentation. I'm not saying don't be a good person. Be a good person. But the human side of the evaluation will happen later. So what we're really talking about, for the most part, are three things: your academics, your extracurriculars, and your testing. Let us start with testing, shall we? You have heard test optional. And across the board for the class of 2021, the 12th graders, it's optional. Now note that test optional is not necessarily the same as test blind. In most cases, the application has a place for you to put in an SAT or ACT score. It's an opportunity. The entire application is an opportunity. So even for those in grade 12, the analysis is simple. Take the test, get the best possible score, and if you rock your SAT or ACT, let them know. If you don't, this year for the 12th graders is the first time ever that we've considered maybe don't put it in there. But it's not across the board true for all schools. The highest of the high versus the mid-range target schools may have different strategies. And when you do your application, you can take things out and put them in. There is no single rule. In fact, please, 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 please understand this. There are thousands of universities here in America. There are universities in the UK, which are really different. And yes, we help with that too. Canada, all over the world. They don't all do things the same way. So when you hear, this is how it works, that's wrong. It's got to be wrong. Can you imagine 2,000 universities doing things exactly the same way? It doesn't work that way. So the idea that you don't have to take a test, that is a viable strategy for some students with some schools this year. For the class of 12th grade, it may work. In 11th grade, a lot of these schools have said we're just doing it for this year. They're coming back. Now we're in the world of COVID, and we're in the world of quarantine, and we're in the world of canceled tests. and that can make things difficult. But for our students in grade 11, here's what we're saying. Prepare to take the SAT or ACT, and maybe even subject tests, which are kind of like AP or final exams, given by the same people giving the SAT, the wonderful College Board. Let's take a look at the February test date for ACT. Take a look at that March date for February for ACT, March for SAT. Be ready. Get started. Start your prep. Not necessarily today because we're in October, but you might want to do a slow roll up on this. When Christmas break comes, you might want to be in the middle of it. Just saying. Pay attention to testing. It can help you. Don't run away from it. Okay. Now, let's talk about things that are a bit more unseen. Let's talk about the extracurriculars, and let us talk about the grades. Okay. And remember, as you have questions, please put them in the chat or Q&A. All right, let's talk about grades first. Now, we're consultants for the college admissions stuff, including graduate school, by the way. What do we have to do with your school grades? Well, whether it's outside consultants, tutors, parents, teachers, these are resources for you, and it's important because your grades will be important. Now, here's the truth. You are the determinant of your grades, and you will know if they're good or bad before anybody else. Your teachers won't know, or they won't pay attention. They won't know if you're struggling, really. You're not going to tell mom and dad, but you will know. Before it even happens, you will feel it, you will smell it, you will taste it, you will intuit. Something ain't right. Okay. You must be responsible to yourself. First thing, pay attention. If it doesn't feel right, do something about it. But the question is what? Now, this is the difference between the way young people think and the way old guys think. You guys think that you need to fix everything. You guys think that you need to get perfect grades. And you want to do that, but nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Not even me. Okay. So if things are going wrong, are you the only way to fix the problem? Because the truth is that you are part of the problem. You are the big reason why it's not working, or at least a big reason. So step 2 to the responsibility is to do something about it. Ask for help. Old guys, we've lost our egos and we're just humble. We've made mistakes so many times that we just ask for help. Look, if a tree hits my roof today and I need a new roof, here's how it works. Hey, who knows a roofer? Go. I need a roofer. We ask. Truth is, I have a roofer, but you see the thing. If you are having anything that doesn't make sense, holler, ask for help. One of the best places to go is back towards your teacher. Why? Well, number 1, they know the material. Number 2, your concern makes them happy. But number 3, they have information that you do not. And I'm not just talking about the subject. I'm talking about why you're taking the subject. You probably don't have a lot of choices in the classes you take. You see, your curriculum has been designed by adults, for the most part. Give you a couple of choices, but we make you take math. You started in 1st grade. Was that your idea? I don't think so. Probably make you take math again, like right now. English, whatever. There's a curricular design that adults have made, but here's the thing. We've never told you why you're taking that stuff. There's a reason. Instead, what we've done is we put you in a situation, a box, what I call day prison. And it's designed to give you an education while also kind of caring for you throughout the day. Okay. The classes are not separate, even though your class hours are separate. Everything fits together. You see, there's a reason for all of this, and it does matter. But if you don't know why it matters, not only does it not make sense, it doesn't seem relevant to you. Not all of it. Why do I need this? Why do I need to study a foreign language? There is a reason, and they know. Ask them. Now, we get this all the time. We get our business students, and they come in, and I'm like, you want to study business? Yeah. You want to make a lot of money? Oh, yeah. You want to do stuff on Wall Street? Yeah. You want to run your own company? Be an entrepreneur? Oh, yeah. You don't have any idea what business is. You want to study a foreign language? No. Wait, you do realize that China is a big player in business. And if you don't know anything about Mandarin or at least Chinese culture, do you think you'll make as much money? I think I'll study Mandarin. Interesting idea. You see, now it has purpose. First, ask why. Teacher, I appreciate what you're teaching. I just don't understand it. How does it all fit together? And they'll tell you, because they know they've devoted their lives to teaching this for a reason, not just because it puts you into a little career, but because it matters, and it matters to them. And yet, here's what it looks like to them every day. Talk to them. If not them, talk to us. If not us, talk to your parents. Talk to somebody. Figure it out. Because it's the difference between understanding why you're doing it or not. Because here's how it really works. It's not relevant to you, so you don't really care, which means you don't really pay attention. So you don't learn it in class. So you go home to teach it yourself and you don't know why you don't want to. It's not going to work. But the moment it starts to make sense, then it all fits. Hey, I can use this. It's just going to make it easier. So for the education part, the academic part, understand that the people around you are part of your team, including the teachers and the tutors and everybody. Use us. Just ask for help. Okay, that's the stump speech on academics. But let's talk about extracurriculars, because I have a feeling most of you want to know, what do I need to put on my resume? First, the application really doesn't have a resume. It's a drop down. In other words, sports, choices, what'd you do? And most importantly, to be successful, do not try to build a resume. Build a person. The resume will naturally follow. If you're wondering what you need to do, it's because the world doesn't have a checklist, because there is no checklist. What you need to do is what you do. They're looking for you. It's not like I need a certain number of community service hours or I need a certain number of leadership positions. No. And it's definitely not about participation. This is not about more. This is about better. Okay. So what does that mean? I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break down the 4 factors that they look at extracurriculars. And that should give you some understanding, context for how things are evaluated. These are pretty easy. The first one, how long have you done something? Because if you played piano for 10 years, it's better than if you played piano for 10 months, and it's way better than if you play for 10 days. That's easy. Number 2, the quality of your performance. This is kind of where leadership can come in. If you're the president, it's better than being a participant, a member, or a pauper. If you win the Olympic gold medal, it's better than being the Jamaican bobsled team man, the Jamaican bobsled team. Despite there being a movie called Cool Runnings, they're not very good. It's no snow. So better performance is better than lesser performance. Number 3, making an impact. They don't want you just to catch a ball. They want you to throw the ball. They want you not just to absorb for your own purposes, but make a difference and contribute to others. In this regard, they evaluate you geographically. Doing something international is way better than doing something local. Now, You may not know how to reach out internationally, so I'm going to give you a tip. Young people don't use this the way they should, so I'm going to say it slowly. It's called the internet. You should look it up. It's pretty valuable. Right now, you may be next to me. Actually, nobody is. You're on the internet. You can reach out to people all over the world. You can make a difference just by sitting in the same chair you're sitting in now. The fourth factor in how they evaluate requires a bit of an exercise. So I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to raise my finger and touch my nose. We're going to see what it is to find the tip of my nose. Try it. Cross your eyes. Not that easy. See, there's a nose on your face. It's not always easy to see. This is the nose on the face of admissions that people know exists, but they can't see it. If you want to be selected because you're different than somebody else, a better candidate, special, unique, whatever. If you want to be different, you actually have to be different. Consider it originality. Because if you look like everybody else, why do they need you? So about 4 years ago, maybe 5, I was giving a speech to the Chinese Students Association in Orlando, Florida. And the question came up at the end. Hey, I have a question. Yeah. Does America look at us all the same? No. And yes. They look at you individually. There is a minimum of 2 people in most cases who evaluate you. Sometimes 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 40. And they look at you as a separate case. But here's the thing. You have a very strong culture. You start to look the same when you all do the same stuff. It could be that you play piano or violin, or that you're a member of the Chinese Students Association. If everybody's the same thing, how can they find you as being different? And this is not just about being Chinese or about being Indian or about being whatever. Culture happens in all kinds of places. It can happen in a high school where everybody does Relay for Life. It can happen in a nation. It can happen in a religion. It can happen in a sports world. You need the participation, but you also need your own thing. So to recap, number 1, length of time. Number 2, quality performance. Number 3, impact. And number 4, something a little bit more original. That's the way they do it. Use that always in evaluating what you do. What we do here is work with our students to understand what they're already doing and change the trajectory to hit the grading scale a little better. It's not about finding something different. It's about finding you, finding yourself. Just can't check a box. Does not work that way. So anyway, when it comes to grade 11, get good grades, do your extracurriculars, testing, teachers. You do that, you're really in very good shape. What we do as consultants is work with you to make sure that A, you're still moving forward, and B, that you're moving forward in a smart direction. We also want to assist you. We actually have a group of over 1,000 former students, which includes, on top of that, their parents and families. And just like you, they'd love to help pay it forward. So use your community of people to make a difference to the community of people, because it's that contribution that matters to our top schools. And that's the thing that makes your resume different. So for parents, I want to give you this piece of advice. Try not to worry about the college process. Instead, worry about developing the best possible human being. If you do that, everything follows. And we often get the question of how many high-level classes should I take? This is an easy one. More is not better. Doesn't work that way. Taking all the HL classes or all the APs and all the honors classes is not what they're looking for. In the UK or even Australia, yeah, they want to see a certain number with a certain grade, not in the US. What they want to see is quality. And if you try to take all the toughest ones, well, it doesn't really work. Here's why. If you take all the hardest courses, your grades are in danger, because the hardest courses are the hardest courses to get good grades. Also, if you take all the hardest courses, your resume is in danger, because you're spending so much time on class, you can't do the outside of class that shows your contribution, which is important. So you need to make sure that's balanced. And if you take all the hardest courses, you're kind of off balance. And because all that extra time, your grades are in danger again, because you guys don't sleep. Please don't pull all-nighters. At your age, you need naps, not all-nighters. It takes a lot of calories for bones to grow. It's tiring. Number 3, if you do take all the hardest courses, how do they know what you like? And they're trying to find you. They're literally going to evaluate you in like 15 seconds on the academic scale. They're trying to find what you like. So in the areas that are relevant to you, whether it's your interest or your career, what have you, what makes sense to you, go deep. In areas that are not necessarily your thing, back off a little bit. And this is why many private schools do not allow you to take so many high-level courses. So parents, please, more is not better. In fact, it has been said by very high-ranking admissions officers at the top schools that the academic side is only 10% of the entire evaluation. They want to know about the other 90%. Please don't hyper-focus on just one thing. Education happens everywhere, not just in a classroom. In fact, if there's any place that it happens more, it's actually at home. The difference between those who do get in and those who don't has to do with the home life and the way parents address students. And this is where it can become difficult. Here's what doesn't work. In America, we call it helicopter parents. If you're in Asia, tiger mom. Because the people who get into the best schools are the ones who do things. We call them doers. They are naturally self-motivated. They naturally initiate things on their own. And if a parent pulls somebody by the nose to go someplace, that ain't gonna work. They might build a resume. They're not getting in. So perhaps understand that in the time of day when you're awake, school is roughly half the time, and what you do outside of that half is largely influenced by parents. So we want to work with the parents to understand. The best thing that mom and dad can do is stop being a parent. Look, kids, your parents love you. They don't want to be your parents anymore. That got old a long time ago. They want their lives back. And parents, I want you to take your lives back, because you are a role model. If you are a happy, healthy, productive adult, your kids will copy it. If you're stressed, guess what they'll become? So it's a bit of a holistic adventure to get towards this college admissions adventure. And it's true whether you're in grade 11 or grade 10. A positive lifestyle leads to a positive life. But we do have some questions. And remember, the chat and the Q&A are available to you. Let's start with this one. Do they just see high IB score without seeing what subject to take? If somebody get a high overall IB, but they're taking easier subjects, will they be able to tell? Yes, they know. You see, the application has a place not only put your grades and your IB scores or your AP scores, but also each class, and they know. It's not the first time they've ever done it. They understand what a high-level course is or an AP course is. They understand everything, which is why they can evaluate so quickly. So they're going to see both the classes you take and the ultimate score. So again, follow your path, whatever is relevant to you. Take the challenging courses where they make sense and back off a little bit. For those of you, usually in America, who are chasing the highest weighted GPA by dual enrollment courses, yeah, they know. It's a game. It's a trick. And you know what? It just feels icky. If you have to go to a college to get a course that makes sense because your high school's curriculum is exhausted in that direction, excellent. But don't take basket weaving because it gets you a higher weighted GPA. The whole weighted GPA thing is maniacal. I have seen people graduate with a 17 weighted GPA. What is that? Personally, I look at the unweighted GPA, and frankly, I think they do too. But they will evaluate the the courses you're taking in terms of their rigor, as well as your result there. Next question. What is a general good weighted GPA? I think I kind of answered that one. The answer is this. Look at the unweighted GPA. If you get the highest score in every class, it's fine. But the weighted GPA is just so hard because everybody does it differently. You think how they do grading in England is the way they do it in Indonesia? So there is no perfect answer on that one. And in fact, because most of our schools will either look more at the other stuff, the extracurriculars and the human side, or will actually internally recalculate the GPA based upon their own experience, we recommend you look at just getting good grades as best you can. There is no threshold in the United States. Like I said, in certain countries, there are straight objective numbers you have to hit. It's not how it works here. Another question. Okay, we hear this one all the time. What extracurriculars should I do? There's no checklist. What extracurriculars do you want to do? Now, that could be anything, but I will give you one inside tip. Be physical somehow. Whether it's competitive sports, all the way up to club or Olympics, intramural, jogging on your own, Tai Chi, walking dogs, doesn't matter. Find a way to get what's below the neck as healthy as possible. Why? Two reasons. Reason number one, a healthy body makes for a healthy mind. True, that's not why. The colleges have calculated that those who are physically active during college give money as alumni 3 times more than everybody else. They like that. In fact, many schools have kind of a hidden chart. The person who's more physically active is likely to get over on somebody who's not if everything else is equal. So if there's one thing we always recommend for an extracurricular, do something physical. It doesn't matter what it is, but let them know that you understand that part of life, because ultimately that has to do with their success monetarily. Is it important to get national recognition? I'm going to say it in a different way. Is it important to get recognition? Yeah, sure, but not necessarily. You don't have to verify everything. You can't verify the caliber of your interaction with somebody who doesn't have money in your community service. And you don't have to have a link or proof of performance. But in terms of the way you make an impact, international, national, regional, which could mean the state in the US, local within your high school. If you're a couch potato, it's really low down the list. Next question. Is there something that students should look for in colleges? Sure, yes, absolutely. But let's start with what you shouldn't look for. Please, 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 please do not look at the rankings. Now, if you give me a minute, I'm going to show why. And I'm going to explain why as I look this up. Rankings are not really rankings the way you think of it. Rankings are actually the result of mathematical algorithms, meaning it's a 6-part formula for US News. And what they do is put statistics out, and then US News calculates the stats, and that's how they do rankings. So I'm going to show you rankings for one particular school, which in this case happens to be the University of Washington in Seattle, UW. UW's a pretty good school. We like that very much. It's one of my 10 favorite public universities. US News actually has 3 main rankings plus a lot of smaller ones. The main ones are the small colleges, which public universities not. Then they have one, where does UW rank in the nation? And another one, global, where does it rank in the world? And I'm going to show it to you. Now, this is last year, but it's an example. Nationally, the University of Washington was ranked number 62. It was 59, then it went to 62, back to 59. Not bad, but that's not really what I want you to understand. See, UW is also in the global rankings. In the global rankings, take a look. The University of Washington is ranked number 10 in the world. Mathematically, how does that work? How is it possible that a school that is ranked number 62 in America is number 10 in the world? That does not compute, but it does, because the global ranking has a different algorithm than the national ranking. Please, 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 please look away from the rankings. It's all part of the business side of the education industry. So what should you look for in going to a university? Fit, being in the right place for you. And there are a lot of factors for this. Ranking had nothing to do with it. That includes the strength of the major. Look, you're going to college to learn. There's only 3 results of your college experience. You fail. We're not going to talk about that. You break the paradigm and reach the stars. There'll be a few of you. Otherwise, you're not going to use the resources of a great university. There's too many professors, too many labs, too many books, too many museums, too many everything. The question is how well you use them. So understand the university in a different way. It is a collection of assets. You either use them or you don't. In high school, you're stuck in the room. You're stuck in the school. College, they don't even take attendance. You don't have to go. If you don't, you paid for it. That's on you. So classes are one part, but there are others. The laboratories, the museums, the libraries. Anybody have any idea how many libraries my school has? Look it up. 70. You're not used to that. And some of the greatest assets are the students, and some of the greatest assets are the professors. If you talk to professors, you're going to get years and years and decades and centuries and even millennia of experience that you can't get on Google or anywhere else. But the starting point for understanding a university is understanding how they design their curriculum. IB is different from AP, is different from the Cambridge or national curricula or traditional curricula. That's just high school. College, way different. You see, in America, most of our colleges don't demand that you pick your major until after 2 years. They figure you haven't seen the world yet. You should before you make these important decisions. So you'll pick your major, but what happens before you pick your major? There are different structures. There is a structure, and we'll just use the Ivy League, for example. I'm going to pick Columbia, Brown, and my school, Harvard, just as an example. For the first 2 years at Columbia, you have what's called a core curriculum, where you must take classes from a lot of different areas. It's a little bit like high school. The theory is this: you're like 18 years old and you haven't seen the world, and we don't really trust you. We need to make sure you get a broad foundation. On the other side of the spectrum is Brown. They figured 18 you can vote, so you should be able to pick your classes. The open curriculum requires 0 requirements. Take whatever you want. And in the middle is what we call general education. So the first thing I want you to do is take a look at what courses you have to take and what courses you can take, because you're investing. And it may seem like there's a lot of stuff going on in college, but it's really short. It's short. There's only 4 years. And in my case, I took 32 classes. In Bill's case, he went to Princeton, he took 30 classes. And it varies from school to school. At Stanford, you generally take 36. At Northwestern, up to 48. And that's a big difference. So take a look at the curricular structure. Go to the admissions webpage, look up the academics, drill into what they're giving you. You're making an investment. Your parents invested in you to figure out high school. You should put at least that much into figuring out your college. Second thing you should do is look beyond the classes. What is the social structure on campus? What is available off campus? If you are interested in studying the social sciences, you're not going to get an internship for business on a college campus. They're just not there. You have to go off campus. Are there any opportunities off campus? Because trust me, the opportunities for somebody who's interested in business at a school like NYU in New York City are a little different than the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, 45 minutes from the crappiest city in America, Detroit. Where are your business opportunities off campus? Now, if you're more in the sciences, the cool stuff is in the buildings, in the labs, on campus. If you happen to like country music, you might consider Nashville. I don't like country music. If you happen to like theater, you might consider New York or Chicago or Houston. If you like the outdoors, take a look at Colorado Boulder, magnificent. Or if you like water, maybe UC Santa Barbara. There are lots of factors to this, and we actually do an analysis of it. But please, 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 please look away from the rankings and look at the actual experience. Because if you're in a good mood, you're going to do better. If you're not in a good mood, bad things happen. Next question. When is the best time to use a consultant? Interesting. I'll give you the latest somebody has signed up. Last year, we had a young man sign up with us on December 23 of 12th grade, 8 days before his application to Stanford was due. He's going to Stanford. We don't recommend that. There's a couple of times I think work better. I don't recommend grade 9. Grade 9 students are just getting used to high school, and they look at us like, why am I talking to these people? It actually destroys the relationship, and we have to rebuild it. Grade 9's for parents. If you have questions, just ask us. My favorite time is grade 10, somewhere in the middle, because usually then the students are like, I know I should be doing more, but not sure what. And we can start to guide you much more on extracurriculars and things like that. For those who are approaching the college stuff, somewhere around the middle of grade 11. In fact, I know you're in the middle of stuff, but October, November, December, January of grade 11. That allows us to prepare you for the admissions effort. The admissions effort starts the moment grade 11 stops. We want to do work over the summer before school starts again, but we need to prepare you. So kind of anytime the student is ready, because if the student isn't ready, it doesn't work. It's hard for everybody. It's a waste of time and money. And I have time for one more question. How many times can I take the SAT before it starts to look too bad? Well, again, it depends. Historically, some schools, not a lot, just a few towards the top, Stanford, Yale, Duke, and you can see this on their website, maybe not right now, but historically, they've wanted to see every time you take a test. So you're supposed to report it to them. Most schools want you to report just the highest overall test score. Yeah, there's this thing called superscoring. Look away from superscoring. That's not for you, it's for them. Because when you send in 2 tests with a high math and a high English on different ones, they're going to see the low scores too. See, the purpose of superscoring really is so that the schools can report a higher average SAT score. But here's how it works. First of all, how many times should you take an SAT or ACT? Once, get a perfect score, move on. Do not plan for failure. Do not just take it to see how you do. I know how you'll do. Not as well as if you prepared. Be ready for a second. So kind of plan out the year. If you're in grade 11, take a look at the February or March tests on ACT or SAT. Be prepared for like May, June. If you need a third, fine. That's more like break glass in case of emergency. Historically, after taking 3, statistically, things don't usually go up. But very often, taking a third time totally works. Why? Because the kids just stop caring. And it eliminates anxiety. And you perform better. We had a guy a couple years ago who took SAT twice. He really wanted to go to Vanderbilt, but he got a 1380 twice. He didn't want to retake it. His dad's like, tell him to retake it. I'm like, I'm not going to tell him to retake it, but I'll mention this, and adults can verify this. In life, the things that we regret the most are the things we don't try, not the things we don't do well. And I said, dude, whether it's 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, or 30, do you want to be going, what would happen if I just took the stupid test again? I said, you don't even have to prep. Roll out of bed, just show up. And he almost didn't even show up. He woke up and was like, I'm not sure. did so. Instead of a 1380, got a 1500. He's now at Vanderbilt. So somewhere between 1 and 3, but prepare for all of them. To the extent that you have more questions, because I have to prepare for our next webinar, to the extent you have more questions, please reach out to us. It's fine. We believe that you pay it forward, that you, well, from point of view of the community, a rising tide lifts all boats. We're not really tight when it comes to answering questions. So please send us whatever questions you have. If you want to know more about what we do, that's fine. But today is really about you understanding what needs to be done. And there's really not much. It's basically get good grades, do your extracurriculars, max out on the test, and be nice to the teachers. We do give guidance on how to research, how to tour college when you can, pretty much everything. And if you do need a test tutor, we work with several proven, excellent tutors. We'd be glad to match you. We try to match based upon the personality that works well with you, as well as the way they teach. So to the extent that we can help further, please reach out to us. If you don't know our email address, it's simple, info@universitycoa.com, University Consultants of America, COA.com. But for now, signing off from the world headquarters of University Consultants in Tampa, Florida. I'm the founder and CEO, Bob LeVine. I appreciate your attention and wish you all absolutely only the best. Thanks a lot. Hope to see you soon.